What if I told you that the biggest obstacle standing between you and success is actually you? Today I'm revealing the success principles that billionaire Dan Martell used to transform his life from rock bottom to the top 1%, and how they can change yours too. Hey everyone, welcome to the 12 Ways channel. I'm Alex and I'm passionate about helping you unlock your full potential. In today's video, I'm breaking down the exact mindset principles that helped Dan Martell build multiple successful companies and become a billionaire entrepreneur. The best part, these aren't complicated strategies that require special talents or advantages. These are practical mindset shifts that anyone can implement starting today. Principle: surroundings dictate success. This principle from Dan Martell is all about your social circle. Stay close to the people who want more for you than from you. Have you ever noticed how crabs in a bucket behave? When one tries to climb out, the others pull it back down. Dan calls this the crabs in a bucket mentality. This happens in our lives too. When you start to level up, some people might unconsciously try to pull you back down to where they are. It's not that they want you to fail. They just want their reality validated. Solution? Dan suggests surrounding yourself with people who are closer to your goals, not far from them. They make the transition easier because they're already walking the path you want to follow. As your goals change, your circle might need to change too. It doesn't mean cutting people off completely. It means being intentional about who you spend most of your time with. Your environment shapes your mindset more than you realize. If you want to level up, spend time with people who are already playing at that level. Quick question for you. If you could have dinner with 3 people who embody the success you want, who would they be? Drop their names in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to see who inspires you. Principle: consistency solves 80% of problems. Dan Martell puts it bluntly, consistency is the foundation of winning. Without it, everything else falls apart. Here's the brutal truth. Most people fail not because they lack talent, resources, or opportunities. They fail because they can't stay consistent with the basics. Think about it like building a house. You can have the most beautiful architectural plans and the most expensive materials, but if your foundation is weak, the entire structure will eventually collapse. The same applies to success. You might have big dreams and grand visions, but if you can't consistently show up and do the work, those dreams will remain just that, dreams. Dan has this powerful analogy. It's like shooting a cannon from a canoe. The force and direction are there, but without a stable foundation, you'll just tip over. So here's Dan's challenge to you. Are you willing to do the boring work for 1,000 days, never missing? Because if you can commit to that, you will emerge as a completely different person. This isn't just about motivation. Motivation is fleeting. This is about discipline, showing up especially when you don't feel like it. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a year, but drastically underestimate what they can achieve in a decade of consistent effort. I know what you might be thinking. 1,000 days? That's almost 3 years. Yes, and that's precisely the point. Success takes time. The problem is we live in a world obsessed with overnight success stories. But those stories almost never tell the full truth. Even overnight successes usually have years of invisible work behind them. By committing to consistency now, you're setting yourself up for a breakthrough that others will later call lucky or overnight. Principle: nobody cares about your story until you win. This one might sting a little, but it's a truth that will set you free. Nobody cares about your journey until you've reached your destination. As Dan puts it, some of you want your parents to care about how hard you work. Some of you want your friends to acknowledge that you're successful. But you don't realize that you've only been doing this for a few years, and they've seen you be a complete twerp for a decade plus. Harsh? Maybe. True? Absolutely. Dan's advice is powerful. If you need praise to move forward, you've already lost the race. You have to learn to be okay making decisions with nobody praising you. The good news, once you win, people forget all the times you failed. They only remember the success. But you have to get there first, and you have to get there without external validation fueling your journey. This principle teaches us to find motivation from within, to be driven by our own standards rather than others' approval. Principle: pain creates strength. Dan emphasizes that the pain you feel today creates the strength you feel tomorrow. Most people run from problems, but here's a crazy idea. You've never learned anything when things went right. Period. Full stop. Every setback, every frustration, every failed venture, these aren't just obstacles, they're training grounds, preparing you for bigger challenges ahead. As Dan reflects on his own journey, he notes that the size of his problems dictates the size of his life. If he hadn't gone through those early challenges, he wouldn't have developed the armor needed for the next level. Because here's the truth, at every level you will find a new devil that has to be overcome. And the only way you learn how to do that is if you deal with the first one, gap 1S. Let me ask you something. What's the biggest challenge you're facing right now that might actually be building your strength for tomorrow? Sometimes I think about how strange it is that we pray for easy lives, but celebrate stories of people who overcame incredible adversity. Maybe there's a lesson there. Principle, peace begins when expectations end. Many of us think perfectionism is helping us win, but Dan argues it's actually what's stopping us. We're so focused on being perfect at every step that we can't make progress. Solution? Stop demanding perfection and start embracing progress. Evaluate where you've gotten so far and celebrate that instead of beating yourself up. Dan quotes his coach, Ed Mylett, who says, "You can desire for more and in that same breath be blissfully satisfied with what you've achieved." This isn't about lowering your standards. It's about acknowledging the journey and the person you've developed into today. Let go of what you think life should be and start focusing on what it could be. This shift alone can bring tremendous peace to your life while still allowing you to achieve great things. Principle: you receive what you desire for others. The moment Dan stopped making it about himself and started making it about other people, his whole life changed. When he focused on helping others get rich, he got richer himself. He shares the story of Oliver Anthony, who wrote the hit song Richmond North of Richmond. When asked why this song succeeded when others hadn't, Oliver gave two reasons. He started reading the Bible and he stopped making it about himself and started making it about other people. The principle is simple but profound. The more you desire for others to achieve, the more achievement comes back to you tenfold. This isn't just feel-good advice, it's practical business wisdom. The most successful entrepreneurs solve problems for others. The most valuable employees make their bosses look good. The most influential leaders elevate those around them. In a world obsessed with personal branding and self-promotion, this principle stands as a powerful counterpoint. True success comes from shifting your focus outward. Principle: the world shows you where you're not free. One of Dan's most powerful reframes is this: the world will show you where you're not free. Whenever he faces a challenge or feels frustrated, he gets curious. Interesting, I'm not free right now. What is it about this situation that's causing me to be triggered? Dan believes that in the discomfort of life, we are given our assignments to do the work of personal growth. Every obstacle is literally an invitation to break free from old patterns. He recommends reading books about trauma and doing the inner work, not just for yourself, but for the future family you'll build. This principle teaches us to view triggers and frustrations not as problems to avoid, but as signposts pointing to areas where we need healing and growth. Principle: be curious, not judgmental. Dan emphasizes the power of curiosity as a tool for growth. When faced with challenges, most people immediately jump to judgment, either of themselves or others. But Dan suggests a different approach. Get curious. When something doesn't go your way, instead of thinking, "This is terrible," ask yourself, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of saying, "I can't believe they did that," wonder what might have led them to make that choice. This shift from judgment to curiosity opens up new possibilities and insights. It transforms obstacles from dead ends into doorways. As Dan says in the text, if he had figured this out in his 20s, he would have been even more of a weapon. Curiosity accelerates growth because it keeps you in a learning mindset rather than a defensive one. Principal mentors turn into critics, and that's okay. Dan shares an interesting observation. Mentors often turn into critics, and he says that's completely okay, you just need to understand it's coming. This happens because as you grow, your relationship with your mentors changes. Initially, they're guiding someone less experienced than them, but as you develop and perhaps even begin to surpass them in certain areas, the dynamic shifts. The lesson here isn't to avoid mentors or to get upset when they become critical. It's to anticipate this natural evolution and not take it personally when it happens. Great mentors want to see you succeed, but they're also human. Being aware of this pattern helps you maintain those relationships while continuing your upward trajectory. Principle: do your inner work. Dan makes a powerful point about dealing with past trauma. He mentions a book about trauma that most people get this book and put it on the bookshelf, never to be open, and encourages actually opening it up and reading it. Why? Because the inner work you do isn't just for yourself, it's for the future family you're going to build. This principle recognizes that unresolved issues don't just affect you, they ripple outward to everyone in your life. By healing your own wounds, you prevent passing them down to the next generation. Success isn't just about external achievements. It's about becoming whole from the inside out. Principle: embrace boring work. Dan challenges listeners, are you willing to do the boring work for 1,000 days, never missing? This principle acknowledges that success isn't always exciting. In fact, it's often repetitive, unglamorous, and tedious. But it's precisely this boring work that creates extraordinary results. Think about athletes who practice the same movements thousands of times. Or writers who sit down to write every day, whether inspired or not. Or entrepreneurs who handle mundane operations before breakthrough innovations. The willingness to embrace boring work separates the exceptional from the average. Principle: develop armor for higher problems. The final principle ties everything together. Every challenge you overcome prepares you for bigger challenges ahead. As Dan puts it, every setback, every frustration, every failed company was teaching me how to deal with higher-level problems. He notes that the size of my problems dictates the size of my life. This perspective transforms how we view difficulties. They're not just obstacles to overcome, they're training grounds for the next level. If you want a bigger life with bigger opportunities, you need to develop the capacity to handle bigger problems. And the only way to do that is by faithfully dealing with the problems in front of you right now. Let's recap all 12 transformative principles we've covered. 1. Surround yourself with people who want more for you than from you. 2. Consistency is the foundation that solves 90% of your problems. 3. Nobody cares about your story until you win. 4. The pain you feel today creates the strength you feel tomorrow. 5. Peace begins when expectations end. 6. You receive what you desire for others. 7. The world shows you where you're not free. 8. Be curious, not judgmental. 9. Understand that mentors turn into critics, and that's okay. 10. Do your inner work. 11. Embrace boring work. 12. Develop armor for higher problems. Each of these principles has the power to completely shift how you approach challenges and pursue success. If you found value in these principles, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that helps you level up your life and business. In the comments, I want to know which of these principles resonated with you the most and why. Your insight might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Before you go, here's one bonus insight from Dan that will help you implement all 12 principles. Small daily improvements compound over time. Just as compound interest can turn a small investment into a fortune, compound growth can transform your life through barely perceptible daily changes. You don't need to revolutionize your entire existence overnight. You just need to be 1% better today than you were yesterday, consistently, and within a year you'll be 37 times better than when you started. Remember, success isn't just about what you achieve, it's about who you become in the process. And these principles are designed to transform you from the inside out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.